Magandang hapon mga kababayan, ako po si G. Tonji. We are broadcasting from Los Angeles, California. You're watching Kababayan Today, the only daily talk show in America for Filipinos. There was a recent discussion on Filipinos in literature here in Los Angeles that happened at the Pasadena Literary Festival. It was called Cute Filipinos on a Saturday Afternoon. This was in reference to a quote in the Raymond Chandler novel that was published in the 1930s called The Big Sleep. And in this book, famed literary detective Philip Marlowe refers to a woman as cute as a Filipino on a Saturday afternoon. Joining us for this literary discussion is Noel Alumit, who has written novels called Letters to Montgomery Clift and Talking to the Moon, a Los Angeles Times bestseller. Joining Noel here on Kababayan Today is Cecilia Manguerra Brainard. She is an award-winning author of 9 books, including the internationally acclaimed novel When the Rainbow Goddess Wept. She received numerous and prestigious Filipino magazine awards, art awards, and an outstanding individual award from her birth city, Cebu, Philippines. Cebuana pala siya, yes. She has received several travel grants to the Philippines from the United States Information Service, or the USIS. Hello and welcome to our program, Cecilia and Noel.
Hello, G.
Glad to be here.
It's an honor because I know I've been trying to get both of you on this show, and finally we have an opportunity to talk about this relevant line, this passage in a book that was written in the 1930s that references cute Filipinos on a Saturday afternoon. Now, for the people that haven't read the novel, can you give us some context as to what the crime story is about? Noel?
Sure. Well, Philip Marlowe is a very famous detective character in the world of mysteries. Is in Los Angeles, and he's trying to solve a murder, and he's with a woman named Carmen. And Carmen, she's a seductress, and says to him on his bed, do I look cute? And Philip Marlowe says harshly, as cute as a Filipino on a Saturday night. And I read that line many years ago, and I didn't understand what that meant, and I always wanted to talk about that with other writers. So I invited Cecilia, as well as a number of other writers, to talk about this at the Literary Festival, and we came up with some really interesting ideas of what that meant.
Okay, I take it that we have to understand the context of the time.
Exactly.
Right? So Cecilia, can you share with us, in the 1930s, historically, where were Filipinos in Los Angeles society?
Okay. In the 1930s, there were approximately 6,000 Filipinos in Los Angeles, and most of them were men. We actually had a bachelor society, very few women. And I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but my take on that, therefore, is that when the character says you're as cute as a Filipino on a Saturday night, it was not a female. It was not you're as cute as a Filipina, you're as cute as a Filipino man. And the reason being, and I think Noel and I had just came up in discussion, the Filipino bachelors, who are generally workers, would dress up, really spiff up Saturday nights to go primarily to dance.
At the dance halls?
Yeah.
Yes. So dressed to the nines.
Dressed
Exactly.
to dress
Diba? Nagpapapogi doon.
Exactly.
So some people actually thought that was a compliment, to say, as cute as a Filipino on a Saturday night, that you were really out there, you were really going to have fun, that they were known for their Macintosh suits, very handsome men, At the same time, like I'm sure a lot of young men on a Saturday night, they might get a little wild, they might get a little crazy, might just be enjoying their youth, since so many of them were young men. And what did that symbolize to people? The sort of this raucous, fun atmosphere. So I used to belong to an Asian American fraternity in college, so I know what young Asian American men can be like, in America. So I thought it was interesting to again affirm that in this book.
Okay.
They were young, good-looking, having a good time. Yet I can also see that from an outside point of view, that may not be seen as attractive. by some people. They're raucous, so look at them, they're behaving real wild, you know.
Yes.
And also to know that the Philippines at that time was still part of the United States. It was not separate, it was still part of the United States. They were trying to figure out what to do with the Philippines at that time. You know, do we make it a state? Do we let it go? You know, so all of that also played into context on cute Filipinos and how we were seen.
Okay. I also understand that during this time, the Zoot Suit riots happened, and those spiffy, good-looking Filipinos were also mistaken as Mexicans. There was a lot of, there were laws in place like miscegenation laws where, you know, Filipinos could not marry other ethnicities, particularly white women. So we have to understand this within the context of the society at the time, and which leads me to ask all of you, what is happening during this time in our stories that are relevant to us that we need to talk about? So it's always going back to our time now, and also having these discussions with our writers so that we understand how far we've come from that time. We have so much more to talk about. Join us here on Kababayan Today. We'll be back with Cecilia and Noel.